Hey everybody, who's ready for the second wave? Hands up, let's go. This is an interesting one today. I spent the last 24 hours analyzing all the top ETF buyers to see who is playing ball in this new game, and the results are pretty impressive. I also have a couple of new price targets based on some data with some very interesting numbers and some what if analysis as well. Just waiting for this thing to pop, make sure the Google is working, the old YouTube. In the meantime, what else is happening? We had a big inflow yesterday, the third biggest inflow since early March of this year, and 10 times the daily reward was pulled from the system, which is absolutely crazy. Bitcoin 65.6 as I'm speaking right now. It did fall $400 overnight, but that's what happens after you climb a big hill. Fear and greed is back to 70. And there's a whole bunch of breaking news that impacts everything. Financial freedom, your freedom, crypto. Oh, it's insane. Let's just go. Big thank you to the mods in the chat too. Before we jump in, this is all made possible by Patreon. Billy Bob, he says, Patreon member here, just sign up, boys and girls, of course. Thank you. And a big thank you to everybody in Patreon as well, who make all of this possible. And Bitcoin news time. Let's jump in. Breaking news right before I streamed. This came in from Sanjay as well, from Ryan, Sean, Adams. This is huge, okay? The Gensler-Warren corrupt duo got crushed. Gensler installed a roadblock to US banks holding crypto, and the Senate just voted to repeal it. Even Chuck Schumer voted pro-crypto. Elizabeth Warren's anti-crypto army got publicly crushed today. If I was the SEC chair, I'd be circulating my resume. Yay, 60, nay, 38. By the way, there is a public record of those 38 nays. It is now not advisable to be anti-crypto in this planet. Same thing I've been warning for a year and a half is now come to fruition. These folks know it. All right, this is big, big, big news. So congratulations to freedom. A small win. Let's get into some mind expansion as well. This piece took me by surprise from Edelman. It's a big fund, new founder of asset manager Edelman Financial Services, predicts Bitcoin reaching $420,000 if just 1% of global assets are allocated to it, driving its market cap to 7.4 trillion. Thank you for coming, Linda. Somebody's watching my videos. Guess why? Literally, I plugged in the numbers into my model and boom, here we go. And this, by the way, coincidentally, obviously, Edelman is using my 21% 21x multiplier, which I've been using since 2021. Can't forget that 21 number. If we assume just 1% of 30 trillion goes in with the 21x multiplier, the impact in Bitcoin price is $420,000, but on top of the 66K price it is now, that takes us to 486, not 420. So maybe Edelman forgot about the multiplier and then adding the actual base price as well. Back. But remember, there's over $950 trillion in assets on the planet, and there's more coming because money printers are spitting fiat out like there's no tomorrow right now. Okay? And 21x multipliers in 2021. Now it's a lot higher. Now, if we take the 56x multiplier and only take into account 30 trillion, okay, 30 trillion, not 950 trillion, the numbers get a bit wild really fast. And remember, again, to reemphasize, just 30 trillion. That is basically what Blackrock, Fidelity, etc., all the big ETFs have under management. We're not talking about the rest of the world at all. And if they allocate 1%, okay, the spend will be $300 billion times the 56x multiplier, which technically should be 112 post-halving, but I'll leave it at 56 to be conservative. Impact in Bitcoin price is nearly 1.2 million. Thank you, Andy in Australia. Bonkers time. This will happen. It's a question of when. It does take time. But what is completely stunning, all right, is the ETFs, which I have been analyzing probably like nobody else. But let's talk about a few other things before we get into who is stacking the most and who is new to stacking and who will surprise you, as well as some on-chain stuff. So first of all, the day BlackRock announces Bitcoin on Aladdin, I think that's what Hey Apollo is talking about here. The day BlackRock announces they're adding Bitcoin to their balanced portfolio, Bitcoin will go up $20,000 in a single 1-minute candle. Do not get caught short. Now, if Hey Apollo is thinking what I'm thinking, a couple of things that, tinfoil hat and everything else well attached. Aladdin is their auto allocation system, their AI-based system that tells people how to allocate their money. If they come up with this 1% allocation, things go bonkers, just like this was said here. And a $20,000 candle, given the hardness, is crazy. But something else crazy actually happened as well. Let's weave into kind of my way of thinking. I could be wrong. This is all just data, me trying to put a puzzle together in my head. First of all, we had a great day for ETFs yesterday. $303 million. Over 10x daily issuance. We'll break that down later as well. Even Grayscale had 27 million flow in. But guess what? Guess what's very sus? IBIT, 0. IBIT, 0 again. Billions of dollars of volume every day. 0. Not one Bitcoin added or subtracted. Sus, which is short for suspect, I think. I'm trying to keep up with the lingo and I'm not very good at it. What's going on now? Confluent with this is this, all right? Bitcoin balance on Coinbase is a record low because $1 billion of Bitcoin was pulled off of it yesterday, all right? And I think there is a very high probability that this transaction is an institutional purchase. It's not a retail investor. It's somebody saying, hey, give me a big bag of Bitcoin. I'll give you this. Let's go. Boom. That could be it. I have a theory that maybe, considering all the crazy stuff that's happening, I think Blackrock is stacking behind the scenes. And they're going to build a big bag of Bitcoin. Then they're going to turn on this, all right? They're going to own the Bitcoin that's liquid, available in the marketplace, because there'll be nothing on exchanges. And then they'll turn on Aladdin, and Aladdin will force an allocation. Nobody will have any Bitcoin to sell except for, guess who? BlackRock. Again, it's just a fantasy story. It could be completely wrong. But we'll find out one day if we're right. Anyway, putting the pieces together. Let's get back to the 13 Fs. These are all the open admissions of holdings for all of the big investment funds and banks, etc. And the TLDR for this is 1,028 firms with more than $100 million of assets under management reported owning Bitcoin. 1,028 firms. Remember, there's tens of thousands of them. This is just the spit in the bucket, literally. Collectively, these 1,028 firms own 11 billion. Now, the crazy thing is, first of all, for the first time ever, this is now public. But this is data as of the end of March 2024. People think, 13F's filing, oh yeah, somebody just bought. No. This is like nearly 60 days ago. All right, the end of this filing. And there's been a lot of bumps in between. And not much has happened because I think people were in a holding position over the last 30 to 40 days to see what was going to happen with these 13F filings, to see who was stacking Bitcoin. And this is why I predicted at the beginning of this week, early morning, I said, these 13F filings will turn heads and cause a reaction. That's why this video is called Wave 2. We've seen Wave 1. We now have all the data, which I'm going to break down right now. And what I've been really interested in is how much these firms are allocating. Is it half of 1% or a crumb or something more substantial? Let's break it down. This is fascinating. First piece. These are the top ETF holders, all right? That is what I call turn heads time. And it's a bit of an eye chart, but just focus on the left piece here. You got 3 different firms. First of all is Millennium, number 1. Number 2, Susquehanna, otherwise known as SIG as well, Susquehanna Investment Group, SIG. And the third one is Horizon Kinetics. Some of these firms I never even heard of, and I know a lot of firms. Horizon Kinetics, I honestly never heard of. They are the third biggest holder of ETFs, but they stacked in Q1 of 2024. Don't forget that, right? Now these firms are turning heads. Let's break down their allocations. First of all, Millennium. They also bought GBTC, which is interesting. They have a $202 million bag of GBTC. even split between Fidelity and BlackRock, a little bit of ARK, a little bit of Bitwise, and the whole bag is $2 billion. Huh, $2 billion. Let's see how that compares to how much they have under management. That is a 3.125% allocation. Again, not 1%, not 2%, 3.125% allocation, which is really impressive. But there's more. Millennium. They are now number one on the list, and they are the single biggest holder yet. With, again, that was out of date. Now it's $2 billion when they have all the records in. Let's look at SIG, number two. Now, they did invest in a big bag of Bitcoin, but they're also huge. They're north of $500 billion in assets under management. I could be wrong on those records. It's very hard because they don't disclose it, but I pieced together a bunch of different data, and maybe it's not 500 billion. Maybe it's higher, maybe it's lower, we'll see. But assuming from all the different pieces I put together, that is a 0.26% allocation. Not too big, but you'll see as well, they have also allocated to Grayscale in a big way, over 1.091 million. Interesting. So one of the things that I've been thinking about too is, okay, Grayscale lost over half of their bag in 85 trading days. Where did it go? Who bought it? That's the question. And now that the bleeding has stopped, or at least slowed down dramatically, where are these other firms going to get their bags? Very interesting. Let's check this. Horizon Kinetics, third biggest on the list. Asset under management, $7 billion by my calculations. They now have 14% of their portfolio. Nearly $1 billion in Bitcoin. Okay. And also a big chunk. 14% allocation is what matters. All right. And they used to do a lot of bond investing. And after having a lot of negative after-tax real returns, even in the bull market and declining interest, they had to reinvent themselves, perhaps speculating here. And now they're going after a new type of bond asset, Bitcoin, to save their business, save their returns, hence the very greedy 14% allocation. Now, just these top three, and you add up all of their allocations and you create an average, I think it's 5.6% approximately between the three of them. Wow, way more than that 1% that we spoke of. In addition, it's not just these big shops. Morgan Stanley as well is piling in, and they have $269.9 million in spot ETFs. Again, early days yet. That's nearly a third of $1 billion. And firms like this are huge, but they're just putting their toe in the water, and they want to issue their own ETF as well in the very near future. So expect big things from Morgan Stanley as well. Now, if that wasn't enough to get excited, IBIT has broken yet another record as well in the history of ETFs. Okay, IBIT ended up with 414 reported holders in its first 13F season. That is only Q1, and remember, half of January wasn't even open because they didn't start trading till January 11th. All right, this is big. And this is mind-boggling. This blows away any other previous record. Number 2 on the list is FBTC. Even having 20 holders as a newborn ETF is very, very rare. Okay? There's nothing like this launch. This metric is important. These ETFs are red hot. And only a fraction of the world has jumped in so far. As I said, I'll say it for the third time, they will turn heads. It's going to be very exciting. Now, we still have some psyops, or I don't know what you call them. Fed President Neel Kashkari. Bitcoin has shown no actual usefulness in the real world. And if you want to collect Beanie Babies, God bless you. I don't know who his God is, but I'm cautioning people to think of this as an investment vehicle usefulness. Remember, he is a Fed president. Do not mess with their fiat Ponzi, ladies and gentlemen. Bitcoin messes with their fiat Ponzi. Who do you trust? A decentralized organization like Bitcoin? Or somebody shilling fiat? What's in your wallet? Let me know. Speaking of Jack Mollers helping to save us all, Jack Mollers, our governments have borrowed a tremendous amount of time and energy from our future in the form of money with no way ever of repaying it. It's our children's problem, okay? As soon as you know that, it will be like a wake-up call. Governments plan to realize that loss by debasing the currency, all right? We know they're cooking the books of the CPI. They removed coffee from the CPI. Near and dear to my heart. And God knows what else they've moved out of it over the last year and a half as they cook the books for how they measure CPI. But this is how they steal it back. They print money and debase it. And that's why every time you go to the store and you buy stuff, you'll notice you get less stuff for more money. How it works. Anyway, speaking of another PSYOP as well, Jim Cramer, if you want Bitcoin, don't buy MicroStrategy. Buy Bitcoin. Obviously, he's one of the best contraindicators out there in the world ever. That could be a big buy flag for MicroStrategy. Anyway, we'll see. Sorry. And another breaking news too. Before we get into the charts and on-chain, there's so much happening today. El Salvador mines 474 Bitcoin from a volcano-powered geothermal plant, which goes into their bag of 5,750 Bitcoin. Again, talk about turning heads. This is from Rojas and Agpal. This will also turn heads. For nation states that have infinite energy, mine Bitcoin and make your country richer. Why not? Or become part of the IMF and use their fiat Ponzi as well. You decide. I don't care. Speaking of Bitcoin history too, this is another cool one. Jeff Hammer, thank you for coming. From Rizzo, 13 years ago today... This is a very sad story. You see this from Greg Schoen. I wish I had kept my 1,700 Bitcoin at 6 cents instead of selling them at 30 cents. Now they're $8. Well, yeah. Now that's a $110 million bag. So, again, sometimes it pays to hodl certain stuff. Sometimes it doesn't. But very sorry, Greg, about that. And I hope you at least got to stack a little bit over the last, 13 years? Anyway, time for some charts. These are some eye-opening charts, so seatbelts, please. First of all, short-term holders are back at break even. This is a super chart. I've been talking about short-term holder price level for a long time. And this is just such a key level, especially in a bull market. Because at the time, right now, Bitcoin approximately 66,000. Traders have already realized all their profits, purple area, so only losses to realize at these levels, and it means the sell pressure is gone. They're back in profit, or they're no longer going to be shaken out of their positions. So a very important sign too. Thank you, Cybert, as well. Two other charts in combination as well. The left one shows you how Bitcoin demand is up. This is demand from accumulation addresses and ETFs. You see, we did have that little sell-off after hitting the all-time high. But what was very interesting to me about this is you can see how the profit takers waited. So we hit the all-time high and they sat and waited, and then they started selling off. And then they continued to sell off till we capitulated to the bottom, which is approximately that 59K, 60K level. And then they saw, okay, we bottomed, let's get back into the trade. Boom. They jump back in. Also, follow the whales, as we always say. The purple chart on the right, total whale holdings and monthly percentage change, they are now stacking again too. But not the only people stacking. We'll talk more about that in a second. The ETFs total bag is now above $12 billion. This is very good. Again, after the big inflow day yesterday. And as I mentioned earlier, Coinbase Bitcoin supply levels are hitting new lows. Sellers are exhausted. So we are ready for that wave too. But there's more. Shrimps, for the biggest time in a year, have started FOMOing in. These are people that own less than one Bitcoin, and they start jumping on the bandwagon too. And according to Glassnode, you can see here, shrimps holding less than one Bitcoin remarkably command 7% of the Bitcoin supply, demonstrating a significant role in ongoing accumulation trend. And this is from JVS, James Van Straten. This has become one of the best charts for Bitcoin as well. Over 50,000 Bitcoin were accumulated. Okay? from shrimps, 1 Bitcoin or less, stacking their hearts out in the biggest accumulation in the last year. And this is so important. They weren't stacking hard at the bottom, but now they are stacking hard once again. And remember, I think the smaller players of shrimp now realize, okay, there's big players in with these ETFs. I better get my little piece now before it's too late. Perhaps. Charts only tell you so much. And MilkyBull believes $74,000 is the next step before we gather momentum for an up-only rally beyond $100,000. And this is yet again the inverse head and shoulders. And another confluence for a bounce here. And we did get that bounce yesterday. Yes, it's taking a little bit of a breather before the next leg up. But daily RSI has now completed the trendline support retest. And again, 74.6, 74.5 is possible from here. And according to MilkyBull, if his chart is correct, not my chart, his chart, we could be there before the end of June. Again, risk happens fast, as I always say. There's a Bitcoin only playlist here. If anybody's interested, let's get into the ETF flows too. And again, after all of that news, if you're not convinced the second wave is coming, a lot of people say, oh, it's summer, nothing's going to happen. No, when all these fund managers see all of their competition allocating, on average, 5.6% to Bitcoin ETFs, that's going to turn some heads. Just a fact. Bitcoin black hole time, day 87. Wow. Remember, these are trading days as well. And you can see here, the bottom, big dark green, we're back above $12 billion, 12.152. By the way, last time we were there, I have on the chart, was the 25th of April. That was day 73. Last time we were above that amount. The lowest level we hit, you can see from the chart here in the middle, was 11.198. That was on the 2nd of May. That was the low. So literally, we're talking $800 million was the dip of sell pressure. Nothing too hectic, considering 303 came in yesterday. That's how fast this thing moves. This is the macro update, and I did say the ETFs are going to come back after the consolidation period, and here we are. Again, you see the big spike on the right-hand side after and this doesn't even include Blackrock because of course they're probably playing some funny game somewhere. Theoretically, allegedly, just looking at data, I could be completely wrong, but that's my theory. Now, 303 million. This is the third biggest day since March 11th. That's 2.5 months ago. That's a win. And Grayscale had their second biggest day ever, up 27 million. As we saw from the ETF filings, 2 of the top 3 stackers are actually stacking Grayscale. So Grayscale's not dead, and they're moving to a lower fee-based fund as well. Thank you, Metagirl, too. So nothing but goodness here. And the crazy stuff, probably the craziest chart. Okay, we are issuing 450 Bitcoin a day. These ETFs, just these 9 ETFs, they pulled in 4,574 Bitcoin yesterday. That is over 10x the daily issuance supply. Sir Winston, thank you for coming. And that is also the third biggest day since day 41, which was early March. Again, a very big rebound, very good for the system. Wave 2 is beginning from all the data points I just shared with you. I could be wrong, but I strive to be right 80 to 90% of the time. And that's why I share this information. So hit the like if you enjoyed the show, and I'll see you all later. Thank you as well to the mods in the chat. Have a great day. Quick check-in on the Bitcoin price, 65.3. Nothing too hectic. But again, that's the market. Thank you all for coming. Bye-bye.